Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Monday assessment by the View from the Medway Fancast in partnership with the Gillingham FC Supporters Club. A little bit of a different show tonight, considering our game was called off on Saturday, but we are back and we will try and make this as fun as possible, considering we've had months with no laughter. So I am joined this evening by Matt, the co-host, Mr. Mike Gammon, and Bamba Gascoigne. Evening, gentlemen.
Evening, Chris.
Evening, Chris.
All good?
Yeah.
All
didn't
good,
lose at the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A bright spark of the whole weekend is the fact that we didn't lose and the fact that we didn't play. But yeah, it's been all right, hasn't it? We will get on talking about the Views news straight away then, boys. And we will start with John Coleman's first impressions. He's had a couple of press conferences now. So I'll start with you, Warren. What are your thoughts on it, mate?
It's different to what the last three managers we've had. A bit old school, a bit straight to the knuckle. I don't think players can hide with John Coleman. I don't think he'll allow it. And I think Jimmy Bell, his assistant, as Coleman's alluded to, is pretty good on the training ground. And I don't think there'll be any passengers. And if there are, you won't be playing again, I don't think.
Yeah, see, I've been kind of like underwhelmed. It's not. No, actually, that's not the right word. But I think where we've had such these sound bites coming through every week for the last. Well, this start of this season, then Matt, I just really feel like I'm more interested in what's going to happen on the pitch now rather than what he's got to say.
Yeah, no, I agree, and the thing is, any manager is going to be judged by results. I mean, our last three managers before John, they've all been judged on their results. He needs to come in, hit the ground running. I do think he's going to command almost some kind of respect from these players as well, because of his long standing in the game. I mean, was it 20 odd years at Accrington Stanley? You look at what he did with a team with basically no budget, with a chairman who was probably kept his purse strings a lot tighter than ours did. And you look what he's managed to do with them. He's now at a club that's got a real budget, real aspirations, some quality players that he's going to know as well. And I'm going to quote, Joe Comper here. I'm like a kid on Christmas Day. I just want to see him get out, see what team he puts out, see how they play. And then we'll know for definite, did these players really play for Mark Bonner or not?
Agreed. Yeah, Mike. I think that was the quote that came out. It was like kid on Christmas Day, but Santa got stuck up the chimney, wasn't it? On Saturday. But yeah, what are your thoughts on it? And do you think that going forward that this is a good appointment after the lackluster stuff we've had previously?
Yeah, I think the Coleman appointment is probably what the squad needs at this stage. I think everybody has different ideas of who would be the person to take it forward. But as I've said on Twitter, X, whatever you like to call it, that this is a free hit. This is exactly, we've got him until the end of the season. There's potential. If he does well, then there's potential to be here for longer. Oh. And if it doesn't work out, then the search continues, and we're not going to be so far out of pocket, trying to sort of pay out some compo to cancel the contract. So the thing is, the players need a bit of a rocket, and they need someone who's going to be a bit harder on them than perhaps the predecessors have been. And I think it's exactly what they need. And I think the point is very much correct that when we see what these players do under John Coleman and Jimmy Bell, you'll see if it is that they weren't playing for Bonner, or if there was, if they're just not good enough. I think it will, start to sort of separate those questions out a bit.
I was going to say, I think it was actually really key what he said in his press conference, and that was basically, if you're not going to put a shift in, you're not going to play for me.
Yeah.
Where I think previous managers would have gone, well, look, he is my best player. I need to play him, even if I'm not getting the best out of him.
Yeah.
I think Coleman will not be afraid to. I mean, look, we saw today Alex Giles has been recalled, hasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
So is that because Coleman's got him in his plans? Is he going to be
take a look at him? He probably just wants to take a look at him, which is, and rightly so. That it's good to see that we're getting. I mean, even under Bonner, we were getting youth getting a bit of a chance, and maybe there is that possibility that sort of trend could continue, especially if Hutton continues the way that he has been. It's very much going to open the door for other players to excel and impress, like Webster. I think our current crop of younger players certainly have the potential to do it, and I think for Coleman to take a look at them is an encouraging sign.
Yeah,
definitely. And Warren, I think it's an encouraging thing to get the youth back involved. And see, when we play Donny on Saturday, do you think that we could see a few surprise additions?
No.
That's the short answer. Cheers, Warren.
Thanks for that.
I think Coleman will go with season pros to start off with, and then if those season pros don't produce for him, then he'll turn youth, or he'll try and get rid of as soon as possible. He'll know who's trying on training ground. He'll know who's swinging a leg, and I don't think them players will play. I think every position's up for grabs. It's up for a youngster to come through at training and prove that he's worthy of first team place.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to do it the other way around, but we skip Asher Benone for now, and we'll just skip straight to Jack Nolan. His comments during the week to BBC. I was on the huddle on Friday night, and thought it went quite well with Mr. Boosie. But Jack Nolan made some comments and said it's the confidence. The player's confidence is shot. For me, you're paid to play football. You make your own confidence. But I don't know what way round you see it. And Mike, I think it's a little bit of a bittersweet comment, really, to be fair, because you, as a football player, you make your own confidence. You don't necessarily have to rely on the manager.
Yeah, well, I think there's an all-encompassing thing to consider here. I mean, when I think about, my job is in sales, for example. Okay, I'm paid to make sales, and if my confidence making sales is shot, sometimes I do need that external help to help me get back on track. So, it can't all be down to the players to regain their confidence. Yes, you do have to be equipped with the tools to be able to manage something like that. But that's why you have your manager, you have your backroom staff to sort of help you, reframe and get your head back into it. So, there's quite an all-encompassing thing involved when it comes to getting confidence back on track. And I completely understand that. If your confidence is shot, you have to take the measures to try and get your head back in the game.
Yeah. So Warren, I struggle with it personally because I didn't play football at a very good level, but I was always one that would be like, well, if I need to make changes and I'm not confident in myself, I'm the person that should be making them changes. Do you think then, from what Mike has said, do you think that it could have potentially be something that Bonner wasn't that great at getting players motivated and confident?
Well, he obviously wasn't, because we've lost 13 games this season. A lot of it is self-confidence. When we all go into work, we've all got to have self-confidence in meeting people, talking to people, doing what we need to do to ensure that we keep our job. I think sometimes a lot of it's got to come from within the football players. They're getting paid enough money, right? All they need to do is go out and entertain on a Saturday.
Yeah.
I don't mind losing, if I see 11 players going out there and giving it everything they've got. We haven't had that this season. Well, not since Barrow anyway. And some of them players will hopefully be on their way, and we can get some new ones in to replace them.
Yeah. I think Matt. I think that kind of rings true, really, doesn't it, mate? Like, we can't. It's okay saying our confidence is down, but there's a 50-50 spread there where you could turn around and say, okay, half the players and then half they're not being G'd up. So, what are your thoughts on it?
I mean, I think Bonner's downfall ultimately came via after the Barrow game, because obviously he came out. We all pretty much thought they played okay, and he sort of had a go at some of the players and said that they didn't think they were performing well enough. And I actually think maybe Jack's comments have not come saying he's necessarily low on confidence. Maybe it's that the players did lose confidence in Bonner. Maybe Bonner was coming up with these tactics, these game plans, and the players ultimately were not feeling it. Maybe that's what it was. The one thing we all know is that last year, Jack Nolan was probably one of the better players in this league, playing for, obviously a team that were never really going to get out this league. And I mean this in the nicest possible way, but he probably he was the number one player there at that team. He's now come to a squad in Gillingham where you have got the likes of your Conor Mastersons, you've got your Johnny Williams. He's now, he's not a big fish in a small pond now. He's a small fish in a slightly larger pond. And again, that's probably going to make your confidence take a bit of a hit. Mm-hmm. I just feel, though, that obviously with a manager like John Coleman coming in who knows Jack really well, we might start seeing the best come out of him. It's not going to happen necessarily overnight. It's not going to be, we're not going to see it during the Doncaster game. It might take a couple of weeks. But I think we'll start to see the Jack Nolan we were all hoping for to see in a Gillingham shirt shine through. Jack's got obviously a lot of confidence in John. There's clearly something there. They've obviously had a working partnership before. And with a manager like John Coleman, I just think the way he's so good at managing each individual player, I think that alone is going to give them all a little bit of a boost. So look, it's not going to happen overnight. I even said this, Rome was never built in a day. But I think with John, with the players that we've got at his disposal, I think he's going to be able to find a way to get that confidence levels right up there.
Yeah. I can't disagree. I think that sums it up well. Mike, Bamba Gascoigne, have you got anything else to say on that one?
Yeah, I mean, with Jack Nolan, I think we're in a Gillingham shirt. What we all want to see is what we saw against Carlisle. That's what we want to see. And that was first game. That was before, we go on any sort of great run, before any sort of dip in form or anything like that. He's come into the team. He's taken some of that form from last season. He's come into the Carlisle game and he's played brilliantly. He's played really, really well. He was hard to play against. And, that's the Jack Nolan we want. That's the one that we want to show up for us. And hopefully Coleman can get that out of him.
One of the things I will say is I did personally, especially against Carlisle, Jack Nolan was more than happy to receive the ball at his feet on the right hand side, yes, and then take on his man.
Yeah.
And then as the season kind of progressed, we're seeing it less. He'll get the ball and then he'll pass it back. And again, was that Bonner's doing? Is that Bonner because of the way Bonner wanted to play? Again, we'll only see in a few weeks' time once John's got his squad together and how he wants to play. But you want to see him taking on and beating his men. That's what we want to see. We don't want to see the ball played up to him and then him passing it straight back. Against Carlisle, he was deadly. And
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, my theory really with the whole sort of passing it back and passing it around the back is that, look, possession is a key part of the game, granted, but if you don't do anything with it, it's not worth jack. But the problem is, if you'll excuse the pun on that is. However, I think as the season has gone on, players have become too afraid to be that player who loses the ball, trying something even slightly risky. And that goes back to the confidence thing. If they haven't got the confidence to be that clutch player to try and make something happen, then any kind of attempt going forward is going to be futile. They'd rather not be that player targeted for that criticism, and whereas it's just safer just to pass it back. I mean, when we talk about like players that try something new, I mean, when Conor Masterson did that run forwards, I think it was it against Salford. Like he did that run forward, created something new, did something a bit different, and wasn't afraid to do that. And as a result, we got the the corner that led towards the goal that was scored. That's what happens when you try.
Dons, I think it was MK Dons, wasn't it?
Was it MK Dons? Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So the thing is, like when we do things like that, it's absolutely like it's in the locker, and we need to like take a few more risks and just not be afraid.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think a lot of those players, before John Coleman has come in, obviously we've not seen them play yet, so we can't comment on how Coleman's gone playing. But under Bonner, it did feel like they were afraid to, as you said, to take that risk.
Yeah.
Like we've got, I still think, and Warren might disagree, but I think we've got one of the best midfielders in League Two in Johnny Williams in our squad, and we have not seen any version of the Johnny Williams we've all known that's played in the Premier League, played for Wales, played for some of these other teams. We've not seen that. And again, I feel like he's come into Gillingham and he's been told to play completely differently to how he would normally play. And I'm hoping that somebody like Coleman is going to come in and look at it and go, no, I want the Johnny Williams of old, the guy that can pick a ball, a 45-yard ball, cross field, pick out a man, score some screamers. I just feel that at this moment in time, so we've got some of the best players in the league. We're just not seeing it because maybe they were restrained, and maybe Coleman's going to come in, take these restraints off, and say, "Come on, guys, go and play your game."
Yeah. No, I think you're probably right, and yeah, Warren. So I'll move on to you, mate.
Right. So Jack Nolan, I think, played an absolute blinder during the week. Absolute blinder. He did the press conference knowing that he was an ex-player of Coleman, and he grew a beard to hide his chins. Right.
That's the reason I've got one, Warren. I mean, I appreciate you calling me out this as well.
I think you mentioned this to me during the week, and I was like, yeah, it's pretty much my reason.
Honestly, Jack Nolan's got to come to the fore. He's a top paid player in this level. He's got to start shining.
Yeah.
End of story.
Yeah, no, he does. And do you know what? And I think I've had a few messages saying, "Oh, why am I criticising Jack Nolan and going at him?" I think it's more a case of like the disappointment. He came in the summer, and I was so happy that he'd come in. I thought he was going to be, brown bread for us. I thought he was going to be absolutely brilliant, and he's not turned out to be that. And yeah, okay, it's okay having a laugh saying he's a little bit heavy. Okay, fine, that's criticism. He needs to take that. But there's criticism, and then there's people that are online saying that he's fat and this, that. I didn't say he was fat. I said he was heavy. So, anyway,
just one final note on the whole sort of like Jack Nolan thing. I think the reason why the criticism has been a little bit stronger for him is because we've seen what he's capable of.
Yeah.
And that is the benchmark. And that's what we want to see. That's what we want to see more of. If he had previous form that was just like, just under the radar, nothing impressive or anything like that, I don't think the criticism would be half as harsh on him. It would just, but the thing is, we've seen what he's capable of, and we've seen it in the Gillingham shirt, at the beginning of the season as well. Yeah, so exactly. But we've seen it, and we've seen that he's capable of it, and that is why the criticism is stronger in that regard.
Yeah. I don't think you're wrong. I would love nothing more than for him to go on for the rest of the season and score 10, 15, 20 goals, right? absolutely nothing more because he'd be doing it in Gillingham shirt. I think for me, the fundamental issue with him is he came in and he's clearly a higher paid player.
Yeah.
You can do the maths on that yourself. You don't need to be told that. And it's been so disappointing, like to the point where I'm just like, I'm getting to the point now where I don't even want him to be on the field.
Yeah,
Because Joe Bode gives a lot more going forward. Aaron Rowe gives a lot more going forward. And even Jaden Clark gives a lot more going forward than Jack Nolan does. So, and that's a shame. That's a real shame because, as you say, he came in with this big, reputation of the season he had before with Accrington. And it leaves a bit of taste in your mouth, I guess. Like when you've seen what he can do and he's just not doing it. So anyway, we will move on to a player that I hope will be the answer.
Winger Kardashian on the left hand side. Winger Kardashian on the right hand side. Winger Kardashian on the left hand side. Winger Kardashian on the right hand side. Gillingham need to score more goals than 0. Gillingham need to score some. Gillingham need to score more goals than 0. Gillingham need to score some. Gillingham need to score more goals than 0. Gillingham need to score some. Gillingham need to score more goals than 0. Gillingham need to score this game. We're scoring 5.
There we go. And the arrival during the week and just before the game on Saturday that has been postponed, Asha Agbanone. And I said this at the time, and I'm going to war with this one because I think he's absolutely brilliant. Proper shades of like a young Wilfred Zaha, maybe mixed in with a little bit of Yannick Bolasie as well. And Palace just have an absolute disgusting record of producing amazing wingers. So, Warren, I love this one, so I'm going to start with you, mate. What do you think?
Don't get your hopes up. Just remember, right? I can see the pace. I see some of the clips that he's done, all well and good, and I see him play against us, right? But let's be mindful, he was playing against Jack Webster, right? Who was younger than him. And
Harry Webster.
Harry Webster, and he's not got as much pace, right, as what this young lad's got. If I was a right back in League Two and I was coming up against someone who's pretty quick and I was quite a seasoned pro, I'd be kicking him into next week. Right?
Yeah.
End of story. As soon as he gets the ball, crunch him. Welcome to League Two. Let's see what you got now, son. Right? So I think he could end up either being absolutely brilliant for us, or I can see him being a Jorge Hurtado, gets injured after. We'll see a glimpse of him, think he's brilliant. He'll get injured after 2 games and we'll never see him again.
Well, that pissed on my bonfire, didn't it? Yeah, so Matt, what were your first thoughts when we signed him, mate?
Yeah, it's another one of those things of he could be absolutely brilliant. He can do what he does at the Palace and the youth levels and everything like that. Or it could be as soon as like a real decent test. Bearing in mind, it's not just one player, is it? Like he's got to be able to play with those around him as well. And Palace, as you say, have produced a lot of skillful players, even at the youth levels and things like that. That will be, well, as we saw when they came to us, like that will be beyond the skills of Gillingham Football Club, etc. But it's going to be exciting to see. He's going to be interesting to watch. But I'm going to keep my opinions close to my chest until I see him in our shirt.
Yeah, Matt, and to be fair, mate, it could go one or two ways, couldn't it? I mean, I'm getting excited about it, but it could turn out after a week of training at Gills, he could just turn into another, I don't know.
Jack Nolan.
Well, I was going to say, I wasn't going to say, I was waiting for Chris to say that bit, but no, you're right. It could be, look, to be fair, like last year when we signed Jorge, we all knew that, none of us knew really what to expect. But he brought some real excitement to the fans. And I know he only played 2 or 3 games, but those 2 or 3 games, that is, as Jules fans, that excitement got us all up off our seats. Asher played, obviously, he played against us earlier in the year. And I kind of see similarities in the way that they both play. They're not afraid to take on their man, try and beat them. They've both got pace. I do kind of agree, though, with Warren. Obviously, the big issue is if he comes in and he gets a whack after, the first 5 minutes of being on the pitch, is that going to knock his confidence? Are we not going to see the real Asher that we saw earlier in the year? The bonus obviously is that he's a loan signing. He's only here for 5 months. He'll be going back in May. We're hopefully going to get to see the start of somebody's glistening career, potentially playing in the Premier League next year for Palace, unless they get relegated. But we've got, I think, a potentially really good young player in Asher here. I can't wait to see him in a Jill shirt, and I just hope he does bring that same kind of excitement that Jorge brought last year, because that will get fans up off their feet. That will get more fans into the stadium, and if we can start winning more games and moving up the league, that's what everyone wants. Because then next year we can, when we're promoted up into League One, we can go and spend big.
He's already made 2 Premier League appearances this season. This is the thing that gets me.
He played for against Nottingham Forest, didn't he?
Yeah, Nottingham Forest. I can't remember who else it was, but when you just think to yourself, imagine you make 2 Premier League appearances and then you're dropping down to League 2. It's a bold move.
But then that clearly shows that Palace have seen something in him and believe that he's going to be somebody from the future. Because you might give him 1 game, 2 games is very rare, but then they're obviously thinking, right, this is a player that we know in the next few years is really going to hit the ground hard, become maybe a starter for us in the Premier League, but he needs to go out and play some first team football. Not just playing under 21s or in the Bristol Street Pupper Cup, whatever it's called, that nobody knows now. But actually getting him out playing proper competitive football where, I mean, no offense to that Mickey Mouse Cup, but nothing's really on the line at an under 21 level, not even really for the Jills and that who are going to put out their youth team, but playing your bread and butter in the league week in, week out, where the results really, really do matter. They obviously want to get that into him, and I think it's a good fit. I think we've got a potentially, really good young player in there. But look, let's just see what he does in a Jill shirt when we see him, hopefully next week against Doncaster.
Winger called Asher on the left-hand side.
Anyway, sorry, no, I just wanted to play that again.
It was worth it just for Warren's face. Really.
Just want to thank Amu for that one, by the way.
Got to say, massive shout out to Amu for giving us permission to use that Amu Acoustics. If you're not following him on X, get on there. But he does all the songs, and he's come up with that one for Asher. So I quite like that though. I think it might be quite hard to sing in the rain, and then once you've had a few beers though, near the end.
It's a bit of a tongue tripper at the end, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love Warren's face. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it was very much what the hell.
It wasn't the hell.
Anyway, so we will move on to the undersoil heating. So obviously we've had this weekend's game was called off due to a frozen pitch. Warren, I will start with you, mate. Is there a case for undersoil heating?
I don't think there's a case for the whole pitch to be done. I think there's a case for the Gordon Road side to be done, if that's possible. Because ever since I've been alive, any game that's been cancelled due to frost has been because of that side, because the sun don't get round now.
Right.
So if you could do something that would give you undersoil heating there at a decent cost, then maybe. But for 1, possibly 2 games a season, is it worth it? Not really.
No. Well, it's not really, because it's going to cost. I think I read somewhere it'd be like 350 grand to to do the whole pitch, Matt. And yeah, for, like Warren said, 1 or 2 games a season, are we really going to lose that much money?
Look, personally, I'd rather, let's call it 350 grand. I'd rather take that 350 grand and invest it into the squad. Because, yeah, I mean, it's maybe going to be, 3-4 games at most a year that will, have issues with the undersoil heating. In fact, I think the club actually put out a thing on the Friday saying that they had looked at it and it was all okay, and they were hoping, had the temperatures not been too low, that the game could go ahead. Look, it's frustrating. We all look forward to a Saturday and we all want to be at the games and watch them. We hate them when they get called off, but to spend, 350, $500,000, whatever it is, on undersoil heating at League 2 level. Yeah, so I've just seen that. Spend that kind of money though at League 2 level, I just think would be an absolute waste.
Yeah, Mike. It's not. I get the frustration. I mean, a few people have said how frustrated they were with like Saturday being called off. And why should we care about the away fans and this, that, and the other? I don't necessarily think it's about that. And I know for a fact that I was watching a podcast the other day, the Absolute podcast, Shah, and whatever you're doing is great. But they were saying, they had a Morecambe fan on. They travelled all the way down to Newport on last Saturday, to be told when they got there that it had been called off, and they'd not even bothered putting the covers on. So, is there a case for undersoil heating, or do you think it's just a bit of a fallacy at this level?
To be honest with you, going back to Warren's point about just doing part of it, I think if you're going to pay for the project, you've got to do the whole thing, because the cost difference between doing part of it and the whole of it will probably be quite negligible in comparison. I think for the sake of 1, maybe 2 games that get called off a season, if that, I don't think it's worth it at this level. I really don't think it is. I mean, the games get rearranged. We don't lose out on games as a consequence. Yes, they are rearranged to a a date where some people may not be able to make it. For example, I had my tickets for the family for that game, but the thing is, if it goes to midweek, then I'm not going to be able to go because of my own work commitments, kind of thing. So there is that disappointment. But the whole conspiracy of not putting the covers on just to try and get out of the game, and this kind of thing, it's all nonsense. It really is. I don't think there's a case for undersoil heating in the slightest at this level. I think some of the questions that were targeted towards the club, Joe Comper, some of them were valid. But the thing is, when you sort of put yourselves in their shoes, they've done the pitch inspection at 8 a.m. I mean, they couldn't have done any better, really. To sort of basically determine whether the game was going to go ahead or not. The temperatures were absolutely freezing, and some of the messages going towards the club were kind of like, I'm no expert, and you're thinking, yeah, but the thing is, if you're no expert in these matters, then you can't really sort of say, oh, you should just do the game anyway. I saw one person saying that, shouldn't have bothered with a pitch inspection, you should just go ahead with it. And I'm thinking, what madness is that? Risking injury to players and things like that is just, with the solid ground, that's going to be more hassle than what it's worth in the long run. I think, just undersoil heating, don't bother with League 2.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think that the pitch inspection, everyone seems to think it's all about the ground and all about the grass. It also takes into account pathways outside the ground. It also takes out, the health and safety of fans as well as the players. So, if they're doing it at 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm not being funny, mate, but the paths outside of my house were frozen. My back garden was frozen. The decking was frozen. They're taking that into account as well. Yeah. So I don't think that we can just be like, oh, it's because it's the grass is frozen. I don't think that's 100% where it lays. I think it's probably about 70%, but they're thinking about public health and safety as well. So, yeah. Anyone else got anything to say on under soil heating?
I think the other thing, obviously, I know it was called off nice and early, but you got to think if it was the other way around, we were having to travel up to Fleetwood, which is what, 6 hour journey, 5 hour journey, or whatever it is.
Loved it.
Well, yeah, but you don't want to be sat off on your journey, get to midday, and then go, oh, by the way, it's been cancelled, and you're halfway there. So, look, I think the club did the right thing. Just call them off.
Back in the 80s, we did Torquay on a Saturday away, and it got called off when we got there because of high winds, blew a tree on the terracing, and it deemed it unsafe. The following Saturday, we went all the way to York, and we got all the way up there, and he got called off because of fog.
Yeah.
To be fair, I've just actually realised that this kind of, if it had been that we were going to Fleetwood, then it would have saved Warren from a stay in the Royal again.
Exactly.
So, but it wasn't. It was down here. But we can move on to Donny at the weekend on the 18th, hopefully with no call-offs and no nothing. So we will move on to the FA Cup over the weekend. It wasn't just a weekend, though, was it? Let's be honest. It was on like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Don't understand where them games came from. But for me, the FA Cup's always been a Saturday game or a Sunday game. So, Warren, I'll start with you, mate. Do you think the FA Cup is dead now that they've scrapped the replays?
Right. Before I go on to the FA Cup, right, I would just like to congratulate Mike's wife on her culinary skills, because that looks a lovely bit of broccoli to go with the gammon.
Oh, God. Just when I thought I'd heard them all, Warren, you come and...
Right. FA Cups, to me, it should be played earlier, get rid of the League Cup, completely get rid of it, just have a competition for Championship, First Division and Second Division clubs, take away the European place from these Premier League clubs who are so scared of all these games that they can go on tour and can't do replays and can't do this, can't do that. Take away their European place, give it to either a Championship, a League One or a League Two side to win the competition and play that. FA Cup, start earlier so that you can just have one cup competition for the Premier League clubs in this country and bring back replays.
Yeah. Yeah, I think for me, not too dissimilar. I think that if you can't play a two-legged or a replay in the FA Cup, then you shouldn't be in the bloody competition to begin with, right? Sitting there going, oh, I'm going to get hurt legs because I'm going to have to play too many games. Right, that's fine for you. But the teams that are like lower league and we're getting money out of them replays, it's not fine for us. And it's like Tamworth at the weekend, for example, right? They went to 90 minutes against Tottenham, right? They then had to go into extra time. And lo and behold, in extra time, they conceded 3 goals. Yes, they're going to, because they don't have the fitness. They could have got that. They could have got that replay against Spurs in their toilet seat looking bloody stadium at White Hart Lane or whatever they call it now, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, right? But they can't now. So what they've had to do, they've had to subsidise that by raising their ticket prices, and now they're getting shit from their fans because they're like, oh, you charge us £45. Well, this is how it's going to happen. If you're not going to get replays, you need to subsidise somewhere. Therefore, they've raised their ticket prices because they're playing Tottenham. Sorry, I'm going to end my rant in a minute, but I absolutely 100% vehemently disagree with the bloody scrapping of replays. Then it does work for some clubs. It worked for Donny at the weekend. They went to penalties against Hull and they won. Fair enough, but you can't keep like what? And you know what pisses me off the most? Right, it pisses me off. It like really does piss me off. None of us like EFL teams got advised on any of these scrapping of replays. It was the big boys in the Premier League that are going to get hurty legs because they've got to play 90 extra minutes.
I think I've got to say, Chris, what obviously frustrates me, I mean, yeah, obviously scrapping the replays, especially when you've got teams like Tottenham's, your Chelsea's, your Arsenal's, who have got squads of 40, 50 players, some of them, well, mainly the Chelsea's, but yeah, they've got these really large squads. The lower league teams are barely scraping by. Tamworth, I believe I read somewhere that Tamworth's annual revenue is about £1.5 million. Had they had gone to a replay and got, obviously they would have got, I think it's like 30% of ticket sales and all that gone through, they would have made about £1 million just from that one game with TV rights and everything. That would have almost doubled their turnover. And for a team like Tamworth, who are really struggling, obviously, not earning that much money, I think that's almost heartbreaking, because the fastest way to lose football clubs is to stop them earning any kind of money. You're seeing more teams now get into financial trouble because of that reason. So I've got to say, I don't always agree with him, but I do agree with Warren on the fact that, yeah, I would probably, I'd get rid of the Bristol Pupper Pizza Trophy, whatever it's called. I'd get rid of that completely. I would have the League Cup just being for your Championship, League One, League Two, and even your National League teams if you really wanted to go in it. It's a League Cup, not the Premier League, it's the League Cup. And also, I would make your Premier League teams join the FA Cup in the first round, because why should they get a bye to the third round? Because they're not playing more games than any of these other players are. In fact, I think these League Two and League One players probably play more games than some of these Premier League players. And they get paid 5 times the amount. So I think it is totally unfair. I think, look, had Tamworth got a replay, gone to White Hart Lane, yeah, they might have got thumped 8-0, 7-0, whatever. But the money that would have kept them going for a good, extra year or so. So, yeah, unfortunately, the FA have killed the FA Cup.
Yes, they have.
I don't fall in love with it anymore. It's not. It used to be the greatest football competition in the world, bar the World Cup.
It's not magical, is it? It's not magical.
And
especially when they're playing on Thursday night and Friday night and like playing it over 3 or 4 days. Like, what's that about? The FA Cup is a Saturday game, right? You play it on a Saturday. The games for every other league that are unimportant and they don't take place. Whereas now it's like it's playing on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and there's other games being played from the leagues and everything else. For example, we would have played on Saturday had it not been called off, and the FA Cup was on. That's unheard of for me. Like you literally play the FA Cup, and then there's no other games. But I guess I'm gonna.
The thing to bear in mind is that the system's completely rigged against the lower league clubs. As you say, like it's the top flight clubs that have made these sort of consultation decisions on these kind of things. You can see with the scrapping of replays what's in it for those Premier League teams, and how it's weighted against those lower league clubs who would depend on replays. Should it come to that kind of thing. The thing is, I've always been a sort of fan of like the boxing analogy of don't leave it in the hands of the judges kind of thing. If you're that good, to avoid that replay, get it done in the time that the allotted time. You've got to push for that winner. That's what makes the competition magical. Is that during these games, if it's heading towards a replay, people will push for a winner. Rather than try and coast it out until we get to sort of extra time, penalties, whatever kind of thing. So yeah, it's just like the system is completely rigged against these lower league clubs. And I totally get Matt's point about, that these clubs, the funding that they would get from, getting a replay at a top flight club stadium or something like that, that'll keep them going for absolutely ages. And yeah, it is the fastest way for, financial troubles, towards the grassroots level to sort of come into play, then by sort of scrapping replays just because it suits the Premier League clubs and their schedules.
Well, it's because they want to travel. They want to travel to Timbuktu in pre-season, don't they? So that they can make about £4 billion a bloody game. That's what it is.
What really frustrates me is that you've got these Premier League clubs coming out and they're going, but our players need rests. You've got a squad of 35 players.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
so how can your players need a rest?
It's also a good platform for these players as well. If they're going to do something within sort of like, first team appearances and things like that, yes, it may be like with a squad around with, players of a sort of like similar level they're sort of maybe a bit more on the fringes. But it's a shop window as well for a lot of these players.
Well, I find it's utter woke nonsense, personally. I think it's absolute bollocks.
Woke?
If they cut bloody, I don't want to hurt my legs. I don't want to play a second leg. Oh, shut up. We'll win in the first one, then, you pansy.
Exactly. Put the onus on the players and the team. If you don't want the replay, you've got to get it done in the time.
It's bloody woke bollocks, isn't it? Right, anyway, so we'll move on quickly to what we need as a club in January. And I will start with you, Matthew, at this point. So we've got Ashraf Benode through the door as a left winger, but I'm pretty sure he could play right if needed. What else do you feel that we need in January?
So I definitely feel we need protection at left back somewhere. Whether again it's going down the loan route, even if it's a young loan player from a higher up club. Look, I think Max Clark is a decent left back, but he does have the odd bad game in him. I see Warren shaking his head there, but I know he does have a bad game in him.
Is that no? Absolutely not.
But maybe at the moment the issue we're having is there is no one in full competition to fight him for that place. So he's kind of automatically got a starting berth. So maybe getting some kind of competition in might reinvigorate him, and actually we might start seeing the same Max Clark that we saw last year. The other one for me, we need a goal scorer, and we don't need a goal scorer that's only done it for one season. We don't need a goal scorer that's only done it for one season. I think we need a proven goal scorer. Now, I'm going to just say two names here, but we had obviously the chance to get Alfie May in the summer. Obviously, he decided to go to Birmingham. Proven goal scorer.
No, we didn't have it. We didn't have that chance in the summer, mate. We had the chance the summer before where he went to Charlton. And
that was it. Yeah, that was Charlton.
He used us as leverage, right? He was never going to sign for a League Two team.
But he was a proven goal scorer at this level. And again, I'm just going to hear me out for another. Your Macaulay Longstaff. I know Macaulay Longstaff would not come to us, but I'm saying that kind of proven goal scorer at this level is, I feel, what we need. Unfortunately, Nevitt up top, I said he had a great season last year with Accrington. And again, who knows? John Coleman coming in might bring out the best in him again. But we haven't seen the same Elliot Nevitt as we saw last year. I don't really think we're ever going to see a fully fit Josh Andrews. And barring putting someone like, Bode or Jaden Clark up top, playing as your striker, I just can't see where goals are within our squad. So for me, getting a proven goal scorer through the door is key.
So I'm just going to touch on that. We've got 5 strikers within the squad. I don't necessarily feel that the strikers are the issue. I think the supply to the strikers is more of an issue than the strikers themselves. So I would stick with the strikers. Asher's come in. Okay, it might prove better for the strikers. You can't keep throwing mud at a wall and hoping that something sticks with regards to strikers. We've got the strikers we got. We have to keep them. I would bring in a centre back, a left back, as you said, Matt, and I agree with that. But yeah, Warren, what would you think that we need to bring in?
Well, it's definitely a left back. Yeah. Absolutely. But I would like to see the most horrible, ugliest, evil, want to scrap everyone, fight himself in a phone box, centre half, who's going to be horrible and he's going to lead this team into something a lot better. We need something horrible. we've got all the nice little airy fairy stuff, right? Let's get something horrible out there.
O'Toole.
A real thug.
O'Toole from Wimbledon.
He won't come here, but somebody in that
mould.
That sort of mould.
Yeah. Right. So for me, left back, definitely. I think we need an upgrade on Max Clark. Sorry, Max. It may seem like we're picking on you, but
I am.
We are.
he has. I do agree that he has the occasional decent game. I mean, was it MK Dons that he had a semi-decent game in that one? But the thing is, like, there's been so many occasions where you just kind of like, he's dropped us in it a little bit, by not backtracking. Also every time he gets the ball, he doesn't do anything to get past his play. He just like hoofs it up the line kind of thing, and with varying degrees of success. But left back for me, upgrade on Max Clark. I do think the centre back, and I may come in for criticism for saying this, but I just don't think Max Amer is the player that he once was, whether his heart's in it or anything like that. For me, he shouldn't be the captain. I think that should be Armani Little. I think probably 95% of people that you ask would probably concur with that as well. But the thing is, like, when we're talking about the whole striker situation and the service, etc. I didn't really watch much of Nevitt, prior to him coming to Gillingham. How much of that time did he spend on his own up front? Because that's what he's doing at the moment. He's spending a lot of time on his own up front, and he's not replicating that kind of thing. Is he a striker that can play up front on his own? Has he shown that he can do that before? Because as far as I'm concerned, I've seen absolutely nothing that suggests that Nevitt can play on his own. I said Nevitt and Andrews up front, but then again, the more I'm seeing of Andrews, the more I think, a 6'5" unit who's terrified of heading the ball is not what we want. It's not what we need. We need someone who's going to be, clattering in the air, being a bit stronger with it all and everything like that. Admittedly, he did get his head busted open, but that's by the by. But, I do think we need, a bigger man up front that can actually, that will put himself about a little bit and, try and create those opportunities for a smaller man.
Yeah, I think that would be right. I think we've spoken about it at length on previous shows, haven't we? Where we feel that it could be work with Jaden Clark alongside Andrews. It could work this way. It could work that way. I don't think we really know what we're doing, to be quite honest. And hopefully John can bring out something. So, shall we move on, boys, to the thoughts on the fan zone? And Warren, we'll start with you because I know it's your favourite subject.
Yeah, I'm not going to use it, so I would rather see the money go towards a old social club where it's either built in the away end, used for away fans to take their money on a Saturday when they visit, and then during the week it becomes a social club where you play pool darts and cards, and people can go there for a beer and chat Gillingham like we used to years ago. I think the fan zone should be called either Compass Caff or Gallison's Gaff. Right.
Don't forget, considering comments today that we've seen from a certain Mr. S.
I was going to say Scally's shithole is probably not.
Scally's shithole.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think that'll work.
Yeah, it is what it is. If people want to use it, fine. I just can't see people using it en masse in January when the temperatures are -2 outside.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's more like, is it not meant to be like more of an overflow for the Raineymen? So I guess we won't necessarily use it in the Medway stand, But then Matt said to me earlier before we came on, didn't you, Matt, that it's for every fan before games, during games, and after games.
Yeah, so they want to use it as sort of during the game as a bit of an overflow for the Rainham end. So obviously you're not there queuing for 25 minutes to get your pie. So they've got people from the Rainham end and even the Gordon Road, I believe, can go out and potentially get something to eat. But yeah, before the game, having a nice area where home and away fans can maybe all congregate and have a chat before the game. I kind of like the idea. I kind of also get Warren's point that, yeah, if it's, middle of January, -2 outside, you're probably not going to want to stand outside. But a couple of little heaters out there, I'm sure that would do the trick. I really like the idea. I'd been pushing for sort of a fan zone for quite a while. Most other clubs have got something similar. And I just think it would be really nice. And you can imagine it, obviously if near the end of the season, you could have, former players coming into the fan zone. You could have a little stage out there and do like what they did where we had like guests come on and in the factory last year. That would be, I think, excellent to have. I'm looking forward to it. I hope Medway Council go ahead and put it through and agree it sooner rather than later. And then hopefully by next season, it can be up and running.
Yeah. Anyone else got anything else before we move on to Warren's quiz?
Well, I was just going to say on the fan zone point that I think it's just the modern way of the way clubs are run now. They want to sort of like try and retain as much sort of audience revenue, punters, whatever you like to call them, kind of thing. I think it's just a way to get a bit more revenue out of people to like provide that social aspect, for them to do. Whatever they choose to implement in there. And I think it can only be, financially a good thing. I mean, Warren may not agree with the style of it or anything like that. But, when you think, the cash that could come in from it, all being well, it's hard to argue with that, to sort of provide that extra sense of community.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I don't know how it's going to work for anyone in other stands other than the Gordon Road and Rainham end, but time will tell. So, boys, we are moving on to Warren's quiz, and we are going to do the quiz. So, it's a multiple choice question. We are going to put it like this now. So, Warren is the quiz master.
Right. Okay, guys. This is just a quick quiz. 10 questions. The questions range from 1893 to present day. Do you want to go with the easiest question first or the hardest question?
Let's start easy.
Right. Okay. So we'll start easy. If you win, you'll be called Mr. Gillingham for a week. Okay. So the winner will be called Mr. Gillingham. The loser, whoever comes last, will have to do a 30-second video for next week's show of them singing.
That'll be me then.
The song is yours. Whatever song you want. I'm not picking a song for you.
The song has to be The Last Waltz.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. The Last Waltz has got to be the last song. Got to be the song then. So, without further ado, we'll see how crap you really are. Okay.
If you're watching along as well, please put your answers in the comments as well.
Yeah.
Well, just tell me what the answer is.
As soon as I say go, I want to see your answer. All right? And it'll be A, B, or C.
Rightio.
Okay, first question. Who is Gillingham's most capped international player? Is it A, Tony Cascarino, B, Brett Sancho, or C, Mamadi Sidibe? Go. Wrong. Well, that was an easy question. You got that wrong.
Was that Cascarino?
No.
Oh.
Mamadi Sidibe, 7 caps for Mali.
Ah, right. Hang on, yeah. See.
Okay. So we've done a good start on the easy question. Okay.
I mean, if that's the easy question, I'd hate to see what the hard ones are.
Right. So, second question. In 1987, we beat Chesterfield. We beat Southend 8-1 on one Saturday, and then we beat Chesterfield 10-0 on the next Saturday. Combine the scores, we scored 18. The top scorer was Steve Lovell with 4 in the Southend game. Then 3 players all scored 3 goals. What 3 players was it? Was it Howard Pritchard, Dave Shearer, Dave Smith for A? Was it B, George Shipley, Dave Smith, Dave Shearer? Or was it C, Carl Elsey, Dave Smith and Howard Pritchard? Go. Wrong.
A.
It was Howard Pritchard, Dave Shearer and Dave Smith, all with 3 each.
For fuck's sake.
The thing is, I had a 50-50 on that one because I was like, I knew Shearer was in there.
Yeah.
At the moment, my missus is beating both of you. All 3 of you, sorry.
And she'll beat you if you don't do the decorating tomorrow.
Right, come on,
8 more to go, boys. We've got to at least
guys,
get 1.
come on, you got to shape up, right? The next question. In 1893,
Oh, fuck off.
Gillingham's first home game as New Brompton Excelsior resulted in a 5-1 loss. But who scored the first goal for Gillingham at home?
My nan.
Was it A, Paul Levy, B, Harry Buckland, or C, Winston Smith? We've got someone with it right, and it's Mike. It's Harry Buckland.
Get in, Mr.
Mike.
Gillingham. Let's go.
I'm not having you on again, Mike.
You're smashing it, Mike.
Cancelled.
Okay. So I've got some questions from 1980s to present day. Okay. So in 1987, Gillingham sold Tony Cascarino to Millwall for £225,000. In October, after beating Southend 8-1 and Chesterfield 10-0, Gillingham smashed their transfer record fee by signing Mark Cooper from Tottenham, who, to be honest, was absolute pony and trap. By the way.
Is that the answer?
So, how much did Gillingham pay for Mark Cooper? Was it A, £102,500, B, £107,500, or C, £112,500? Go. Chris, you're the only one who got it wrong.
Oh!
You got his hopes up there.
That's a little tick for Mike and Matt. And another, get your singing voice ready now, Chris.
Oh, God.
Okay. We'll move on to the 90s. Okay. In the 95-96 season, Gillingham created a League 3, Division 4 or League 2 record, whatever way you want to look at it and wherever old you are, by conceding the fewest amount of goals, which was 20. Jim Stannard kept numerous clean sheets that season, but how many? Was it A, 27, B, 28, or C, 29? Go.
No.
Go, Chris. Mike, you've got another tick. Well done, Mike.
For fuck's sake.
29 is the answer. So, Mike is absolutely
Considering I weren't even born until 1987.
Okay.
I see, ageist.
So, your next question. In 2009, Gillingham played Shrewsbury in the League Two playoff final. What was the official attendance?
Oh, for Christ's sake.
Christ.
Was it 53,706, 53,756, or 53,976? One person's got it right and no guessing who. It goes to Mike.
Fuck's sake.
There was an interesting fact was there was 53,700 Gillingham fans. There was meant to be 20,006 Shrewsbury fans, but 20,000 did get the memo and they all ended up in Gillingham in Dorset. So, another tick for Mike, another for our resident hosts and so-called experts, Chris and Matt.
I'm not an expert.
Right. You should get this one. Okay,
We're not
this
going
is
to get
easy.
this one.
This is easy. Cody McDonald, one of the best strikers to play for Gillingham, made 201 appearances between 2010 and 2017. But how many goals did he score?
Sorry, Warren, you're going to have to repeat the question because my box blacked out for a second there.
No worries. Cody McDonald, one of the best strikers to play for Gillingham, made 201 appearances between 2010 and 2017. But how many goals did he score? Was it A, 73, B, 75, or C, 77? Go. And Matt is the only one who got that right.
Go on.
It's another for Chris. And Mike actually got one wrong.
I mean, Matt was looking at his phone.
Okay. So
It was a good
move on. I've got 3 questions here from 2020 to present day. Okay. So what I want to know is between 2020-21 season to the present day, Gillingham have played a total of 207 league games. How many have we won? Is it A, 64, B, 66, or C, 68? Go. And Matt is the only one who's got that correct.
That
Well,
was a
I'm
red
Matt.
herring. You wanted us all to
You
go
guys
below
are going
100.
home.
This is just like our season. The wheels are proper coming off for me now.
So, with 2 questions left, Mike's got 4, Matt's got 3, and Chris is scoring as many goals as we do.
Nil point.
Okay. So, between 2021 season to the present day, we've played a total of 207 games. We have won 68. But how many goals have we scored in that time?
2.
Is it A, 204, B, 206, or C, 208? Correct to Chris and Mike.
Yeah.
Chris got one.
Well done.
Go on, Chris.
So Chris hasn't ended up on 0.
He's still got
And-
the sing though.
But it does mean that Mike will be our champion. So I'll just give you, again, 2021 season, played 207 games. We've won 68. We've scored 206 goals. So how many have we got? How many have we had against?
Ooh.
Is it A, 257, B, 259, or C, 268? None of you got it right. It was B, 206, 259. Well done, guys. So, Mike, you will be Mr. Gillingham for the week. So, if anyone addresses Mike on social media, please call him Mr. Gillingham. And Chris, you're singing, son.
What now or next week?
No,
Next week.
you got to do a 30-second video for the next
right.
show.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no worries.
All right. Well done, guys. And I hope all those that played along at home got more than Chris.
You're better than we did.
Well done, Warren. I like that. Well done, mate. That
Good
was
quiz, Warren.
Well done.
Well done, Warren. I like that, yeah.
Oh God. Yeah, so we will just quickly touch on a look ahead for Saturday and 2 days before my birthday. So the next Monday show will be my birthday. So I'm gonna have to sing on my birthday. But that's terrible.
With the party.
So last 5 games, we've 1 drawn, loss. And Donny here, 1 loss, drawn, 1 loss. So I will start with you, Warren, you bastard. What do you think the score's going to be, mate?
2-0.
2-0. What, to Donny?
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah. Well, I don't know about that. I think 1-1 personally. But Matthew, we'll go for you first, Matt. What do you think?
Well, Coleman's going to have had 2 weeks with the boys, so he's definitely going to be able to put his point across. Had this been weekend just gone, I probably would have said a draw. The fact he's had that extra time, I'm going to have to go with a win, and I'm going to go 2-0.
2-0. And Mike?
For me, I think it's going to be probably 1-1. I think a score draw is definitely in it. It's difficult to say, isn't it? Like when you get a new manager in, you just don't know what you're going to get. You really don't know. Like, will the players get some of that confidence back that they've lost? John Coleman's instilling some of that belief. But I think on the side of caution and simply on like the pattern of Doncaster's like last 5 games, a draw is the next one in the sequence, and I've based it on nothing more than that.
Fair enough. Fair dues, boys. So we are at the end of the show, I think. I mean, we have gone over, but it was fun to go over because I really, really, really enjoyed that quiz. Even though I won't do next Monday when I've got to sing. But as most of you know, we are in partnership with the Supporters Club. So if you haven't already, then give them a shout. Our contact details are there, really. So if you are on Facebook, then join our Facebook group, The View from Medway. Exit TVFTM / The View from the Medway Fancast. YouTube, The View from the Medway Fancast. And our WhatsApp phone number, if you decide you want to put any videos into us or anything so that we can put on the show, because usually it's all about the fans. So we would love to hear from you on there as well. So before we go, just a little bit of a
Kodasher on the right hand side, winger Kodasher on the left hand side, winger Kodasher on the right hand side.
Anyway, I've been Chris, he's been Matt, he's been Mike, he's been Warren. Good night, and of course, up the Jills.
Say hello, guys.